Welcome to the last video of Chapter 7. In this video, we will be reverse engineering a design. Now, first thing is, let's take a look at the tags we have covered in this chapter. Header, nav, main, A-side, footer, article, section, address, block quote, HR, div, and span. Hopefully you have a good idea about what all these tags do and what they're supposed to do, and if not, please review the videos that have previously been published so you can go through those once more just to make sure you have a good understanding. Because in this video, I'm actually going to be asking you for some feedback. First things first, let's take this design and break it down. You have the tags on the left that you can use, and just take a few seconds to examine the design on the right and see what items you can break down based on what you know so far. I'll give you a few seconds to analyze, and then I'll give you the answer in just a minute. Are you ready? Let's take a look at how it breaks down. Now keep in mind that when the answer is given, this is not the 100% exact answer. It can modify based on different techniques and aspects, or even different standards, but this is just a general overview of how to reverse engineer a design and break it down into the concepts that you know. So first, we have, of course, the header at the top. That header includes a navigation and an H1. It can also include the logo as necessary. It has a main section with a div inside of it, and 3 sections below with H2s highlighting exactly what needs to be said in the actual section. And of course at the bottom you have a footer. Does this make sense? I hope it does, because we're doing this a few more times. This next example is fairly similar. Give you a few seconds to take a look at it and analyze it to see where you think things can be placed. Again, there is no 100% exact answer. It depends on exactly how things are designed and run, but hopefully you have a better understanding about how things can be broken down. So I'll give you a few seconds to analyze it and then give you the answer. Alright, you ready? Let's take a look. So of course we have the header at the top with the nav inside of it. The main can include everything at the top and the main section. The main, where it starts, can be modified based on standards and techniques. But inside the main we have an H1, we have a bit of content at the top, the read more section. Below that is the H2, a section below that, a block quote below that. We have an A-side on the right and an H3 inside of that. The items on the A-side can be div or section depending on the technique, but in the footer, pay attention to the fact we have 5 different sections. These can be a list, these can be a navigation, but most importantly, they can be a section. So based on that, you should have a better understanding about how things can be broken down. Ready for the next one? Take a look at this one. Hopefully you have a better idea about what's expected, and you can get an answer fairly close to mine. Alright, you ready? Let's take a look. So the top part can be the header. You have your H1 and your nav inside of that. The header can change based on size and also based on the actual page itself. A little more advanced technique that we'll get into later. The main section below, all the white, has a section for the first part, has a horizontal rule, or that can be debated, a block quote on the left and 2 sections in the middle and the right. We have an A-side on the far right, a section inside of there, a horizontal rule, and then another section. Now pay attention to the footer. We also have a secondary nav down there as well. Is it necessary? Well, it makes it easier for user experience, but it's also important to tell browsers and search engines that this is a navigation as well. Think you did good? Let's take a look at one more example. Okay, you ready? This one should be fairly simple. We're actually breaking it down into the header and the nav at the very top. The main section below has an article inside of it because the article can be self-contained and can be syndicated because it has the author information, the date, the picture, and all the information inside of it. It has an H1 and an H2 inside of it. I move the H1 down a little bit so you can see the word article, and a block quote inside of that. The A side on the right has different divs and spans inside of it and has different categories for items, but if you take the A side away, the article can still be displayed as is. Of course, the page itself goes below what the fold is, or the bottom of the page that you can see, and that of course has things like footers and navigations and all the other stuff. But that's not important. The important thing right here is an article tag. Last one, I promise. Think you got it? I hope so, because this is a trick question. In this case, we just have the main section on the page and a div inside of that with a standard form. We'll get to forms later. But in this case, it doesn't have any of the sectional content that we talked about except for the main tag. The main tag, of course, breaks things down and tells the browser how to process this. This is the primary main section of this page, and there's only one thing on here, which is the div tag with the form. Does it need a header or a footer or a section or a horizontal row or anything else? No, because it's just a standard div tag. Can you put a footer inside of the div tag and put it at the not registered creating account? You could, but again, it depends on the standards that you have for the project you're doing. Okay, so that is it for this chapter and this section. If you have any questions about Chapter 7, please send me an email or hit me up on Twitter, and working together, we'll get to the best answer for you. If you haven't already worked with the Code With Me videos, I highly recommend those just so you have a better idea about what to expect and seeing the different items in use and practice versus just a lecture.